Good evening, sir.
Hello, sir.
My God, finally we speak to each other after, what's it, 3 years? Jesus, fuck, man.
Feels like longer.
That's your studio, huh?
Yeah, this is it right here. I'll give you a little look around here. It's pretty small, actually. I just, my TV over here, assorted things that I need and materials over here.
Cool.
Some of the things I've made up here, and then extra glass for other projects.
Ah, dude.
Yeah.
Ah, I'm loving those ones.
Some of my most recent creations, I've been going back to nostalgia, getting back to some Nickelodeon childhood shows and recreating some of the creatures from some of those shows. So far, I've been working on Real Monsters. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that or if anybody.
The minute I saw your post recently with the stick one who's there up.
This one is
Oblina. Took me back. Fuck,
so
man.
Great. Yeah, I'm trying to cash in on those nostalgia vibes.
Well, it's actually really good work as well. And the thing is, it fits so perfectly with what you do. Do you know what I mean? It's like optimum.
It's actually the first time I've ever gone into like kind of standalone sculptures with an armature behind it, making a skeleton and then building on top of it. As a matter of fact, here's what they look like before I do anything, really. I just took in some steel and welded it together to get the armature. This is going to be Plankton from SpongeBob SquarePants. Cool. As you can maybe kind of tell, you got the big antenna, and he's going to have the one big eye and all that good stuff.
Yeah, man.
And then I even started getting into making my own wooden base. This thing here, the wooden base I put it on, these are 3 for $20 on Amazon, but I got a lot of wood laying around. So I was like, why am I not just making these myself?
Cool as fuck, man.
I just bought a giant 7-inch hole saw bit to cut the hole, and then I have a router already, so I route the edge and give it that fancy lip. And then I also got recently into pouring resin and doing kind of just these pretty backgrounds. It's kind of hard to see the detail, but I'm having a really good time exploring these different pours as a base, because usually I would just paint the thing black, and I never really loved that it was just black. I really wanted to get it more artsy looking.
Yeah. I can see Charlie's brother directly behind you as well.
Yes, he's up here.
That's nice. Yeah. I'm just trying to I am so buying that. Please do not sell it to anyone. Sure. Okay. I
got my pizza hand guy here. I want to show you this base. This one, I really stepped up my resin game on the base. It's got these gold veins and a purple background. It's gorgeous.
That's
of course
cool.
The Santa Cruz skateboards, screaming hand, pizza van.
Cool as fuck, man. Absolutely love it.
And then this is the normal no pizza screaming hand.
But actually, how long does that take you to make something like that? That must take like weeks. What?
Well, the first one took a long time, but then I made a mold. This is the mold for the hand itself. The only thing this doesn't have is the tongue. So when I mix up my liquids and I pour it inside there, you can see the teeth, the negative impression, and the fingers. And then once it's all set up, I just have to peel the silicone back, which is kind of hard to do. And then that gives me basically a big white hand that looks like this material, just white. Okay. And then I paint it. So now that I have the mold and I can make the hand kind of whenever I want, which is my hand, actually, I stuck my hand in some alginate, the same stuff they use to make dental impressions. I put it in a big bucket and stuck my hand in there, and it only takes about 2 minutes for it to set. And then I pull my hand out there and I poured, some material in there and then made a mold of that. Long process.
I bet. Well, I had someone do something years ago with my face. It was when I was back in my acting days, and they had to make molds from my face.
Yes. You did a light cast.
That just took such a long time with straws up my nose. I'll never forget.
I was going to say, did they do the straws and everything?
Straws up my nose, yeah. And that
you
was
must have been freshly shaven for that.
Yeah. Well, it was early 90s. It was boy band time, so I didn't need to shave that much. But the straws were useful for doing lines of coke with. So there you go.
So while it's setting up and you got your straws, it's like, where's it at?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. I was the Artie Lang of the British face mold scene. That's what I was, basically. You know what I'm saying?
I love Artie.
Me too, man. Me too. It's a strange thing with Artie because I'm so happy the last year or so to see him cleaning up. But then on the other side, and now it looks like he's actually cleaning up, unlike the rest of the times when he sort of said he was. But then on the other side,
I was gonna say I saw him on Rogan when he was, did that most recent. It's been a few months now, but he looked great, sounded great. He was hilarious. I was really happy to see him doing good. But
it's a weird thing with Artie Lang because it's like when he was really heavily not well, then I would be almost every day or two, I'd be Googling his name just to check what the fuck is going on. Andy Dick slips into the same box on that one. I know you two are kind of tight, It was a time frame when I was doing a similar thing with Andy Dick as well. But now he's clean. On one side, I'm so happy for him, and he's such a sweetie. It's just like good, But then on the other side, I've got the habit of every couple of days Googling his name just to make sure everything's okay. You know what I mean?
I don't talk to Andy real often, but I do check in on him on social media as he's doing good. Looks like he's got a nice new girlfriend and she's helping him kind of clean up a little bit, because last time I saw him, he was single and he was not sober, and he's kind of in and out of being an awesome, really nice guy and just being wacko. Because sober Andy is the nicest guy you've ever met. Just so nice, very welcoming. Drunk Andy or any other kind of Andy is just wild. You might get bit, you might get, robbed. You don't know what's going to happen. So,
well, I mean, at the moment, he's I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but he's waiting for this new assault charge to come to court, isn't he?
I haven't heard about that.
Yeah. And then that means you haven't heard about the girlfriend situation. It was that Andy's girlfriend, there was a question because Andy's housemate suggested that was actually all a bit of a kind of a fake mock-up kind of situation.
Yeah, he does that. No, he's not. It's funny. He's not gay, and he says he's bi. So I know he does like women too. But I had a feeling because she came out of nowhere, and she's like a 10 for what But yeah, so they didn't work out, I guess. I don't know. I've been out of town.
But then the bit that happened before what they broke up is probably the bit that you should know. That's the bit that hit the newspapers. So there is a ex-lover of Andy. The gentleman's name, it's a gentleman. I can't remember. Pardon?
Paris?
It was a man. It was, I forget what his name is. I don't know why the name Leonard or something beginning with an L comes into my mind.
Okay. I know he's got a big thing with this guy. His ex-boyfriend Paris. They're very toxic.
Maybe. Yeah. And what happened was he got in some kind of argument with that guy and then hit him with a chair. And when he hit him with a chair, he broke the guy's leg. And then he got arrested for assault with a deadly weapon.
Wow.
And then the girlfriend, or maybe not girlfriend, left him very publicly. Yeah, dude, you've got a little bit of Andy Googling.
Man, I have not been. I went to I've been to Disneyland the whole last week, celebrating my baby's first birthday. But before that, I actually, thank you. She is so funny. She's so cute. It's funny because she's just a total opposite of my son, who's now 6. He's just wild and crazy, and she's just slow and thoughtful.
In our house, we call him Buzz Lightyear. Every time, so I'm, you're one of the people who's in my feed on Facebook and so on.
Right.
And every time, like, those pictures pop up with him with his hair up, like, whoop,
and so on.
My girlfriend and I just melt. We
call it the rockin' hairdo.
Such a cute kid, man. But you're lucky with your kids. They're both of them gorgeous. Do you know what I mean?
They're great. They're great. And he's just started first grade. His first time ever going to school because of the pandemic. He didn't get to go to kindergarten. So he's thrilled. He's happy to be out of the house finally, and we're pretty happy too.
I bet you are. Well, he reminds me, the thing I notice about him, he reminds me of me very much, because I was one of those kids where if you saw a picture of me, a photograph of me, but you hadn't met me, it was clear to anyone that I was an extremely high energy child, and like full of creativity, full of beans, and
oh yes, they called me ADHD. I know what you're talking about.
Now you must be younger than me, because when I was a kid there was no classification of dyslexia and there was no classification of ADHD, and so I was just a problematic fuck, as they said.
Yeah, right. I think that stuff sort of came out when I was a kid, because I was born in 1984, so I'm 36.
Same age as my sister.
Okay. Well, how old are you, Sach?
I'm 42. I'll be 43 this year.
Gotcha. Which month was your birth?
1978 October.
Oh, it's right around the corner. Right on.
Shit, yeah, so it is. It's my birthday soon. I've only got a month or so of being 42 left. Is there anything I want to do at 42? No, I think I've done all the stuff.
I bet you have.
I was
just thinking about the fact that I'm 36 and how 40 is just around the corner. It's like, just wow.
I don't know if it's because you've dropped kids sooner than I kind of got involved in being a family situation, but from my perspective, my 30s, this was like, oh God, I look back on it like, oh no, Jesus, and my 40s have been a joy. They've involved a lot more work for some reason than my 30s, but then my 40s comparative to my 30s have just been a joy. I've got a theory about it too, actually. My theory is this, like, first you're a kid, like teenager, and you don't have or know anything, right? And then
you think you do.
You think you do. You've got a big fucking mouth, but however, you're kind of building an adult life, and then you get into your 20s, and that's the bit where you start paying tax, and you start to have like lifelong friends who you've known for a decade or something like that, and then you start making long-term relationships, and that will take like about 10 years to get into that phase. And then when you get into your 30s, you've been paying tax just long enough to start getting your first tax problems. And that comes up your ass.
Start getting annoyed with the way things run around here.
That's it, And then you get
attention to politics all of a sudden, all the shit that your parents used to talk about when you were like, fuck this, I'm going to play with some Legos.
That's it,
man.
That's it.
I cannot believe how much now, obviously there's a lot going on in the United States, but how much now I even talk about politics with friends and family, not online, because that's insane. I don't, want to go that deep down the rabbit hole.
Fuck, man.
It's so toxic. So toxic that now Facebook has implemented a new feature that will automatically hide people that they think are toxic for you if you want to. It's called safe mode.
Oh, jolly good.
Goodness.
No, I got a real ass fuck from that recently. For the first time in my online life, I guess you could call it, because to be honest with you, I'm a fucking dinosaur, social media and shit like that was anathema to me. And then when I started running the business, I had to get involved in that stuff.
Same here. I would not be involved with social media if I didn't have a business to run. It was a friend of mine who said, bro, get on Instagram, turn it into a business profile, start following other accounts that already do similar stuff as you, and start getting the algorithm on your side. And that's the only reason I really dove into it, I mean, I had a Facebook just kind of for some memories, things like that, but that's about it.
I'm the same way. I mean, the reason I started Facebook in like 2007, and I was in because my mother, because I didn't live in England, and my mother would say to me, "Oh, I don't know where you do, what you are, what your hair looks like."
Well, here you go, Mom. You can track everything I do now.
Yeah, that's why I did it. But then I dropped in and out of the whole social media just because, like, fuck, man, names of people would pop up who were ex-girlfriends. And it was like, I don't even want to.
You start connecting with all the people you thought you'd never see again.
Yeah, exactly. And then when the business started, then I started, I mean, I've got like a kind of I try and put out some conversation with our public every day, you know, so that people
you have to, that's the kind of the nature of the beast. I have to post every day. I have to stay involved because people forget quickly, even if they love you. It's wild.
That's
you know?
Absolutely right. Yeah. But then like for the first time ever, I started to get, it's happened to me now twice. And the second time it happened to me was yesterday. The first time it happened to me was around about 6 months ago. I have a good friend in Belgium who is a fetishista, and she picked up that we have a collection of like fucked up Converse that I like to take photos of. So she wore
fucked up Chucks.
Fucked up Chucks, yeah, you got it. And she wore on purpose a pair of fucked up Chucks for a bondage shoot, right?
Okay.
And then she sent me the picture. She was like, bitch, post this shit. I did it for you. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. I posted that up, right? This is the first time I ever met the moral police. You wouldn't believe the kind of shit I got, right? I'll give you an example. There was two people, I won't say the name, there was two people who are chili seed producers in the southern United States, posted it up, and the woman, I think it was the woman, not the husband, started screaming in DMs, literally screaming. It was a picture of Lizette, the girl, my friend, tied to a tree with fucked up Chucks on. That's what it was. Nice and simple. And she started screaming at me, do you like rape trees? Where I come from, I know what's a rape tree. That's where they tie the women and the children to rape them. You want to rape people? I was like, whoa. I don't know who hurt you, but like,
yeah. There's this whole thing we call consent, love.
Yeah. Insanity. Yeah. And then the same shit happened to me the second time in my life yesterday. I have a good mate of mine who has a hot sauce company in Canada. I won't say the name right now, because potentially I'll use excerpts of what we're doing right now online, and I wouldn't like to get anyone in trouble, you know?
Right.
So this mate of mine said to me a while ago, said, hey, bitch, I got this new sauce I'm going to drop. It's going to be great. Help me with my publicity. He said, like, you know, I'm going to drop it at the Heat Up the Capital Festival in Ottawa yesterday. And he's like, so I'm going to cover the North American side, you know, but you got a lot more reach in Europe. So would you mind to stick out the images for me and a little bit of advertising on Saturday, something creative and dangerous and naughty? So I was like, yeah, all right. Why the fuck not? Let's do it. Yeah. And so he sent me a picture. It was a great picture. It's actually him in a kind of GIMP costume in a table with a kind of dominatrix woman in the picture. And the sauce is called kink. Yeah. So there's the relationship.
Okay, perfect.
And so I put together what I consider to be an amusing post. And my people, you know, like the dudes who are on our social media, they also found it amusing. They were like, hey, it was like, I forget now, something like all the best people are perverts. We guarantee this sauce will corrupt your children. If you weren't a pervert before you had the sauce, you'll be a pervert after you had the sauce. You know, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, what's really funny about it is I bounced it through a number of groups. Yeah. And two things happened. And my mate said to me, actually, fuck it, it's good. Yeah. Because the point of it was to get people to look and talk about the sauce.
Right.
Yeah?
A little controversy always helps.
I mean, I wasn't planning controversy. To me, it was pretty vanilla, to be honest with you. It was just a funny picture. But so two things happened. Thing number one, dude, the internet trolls came out. Yeah. Dude, the messages, you wouldn't believe it. Yeah. If your products are so pathetic that you think sex is the only way you can sell them, yeah, this kind of thing. Yeah. And then get down to the really personal. Yeah. If you're going to do something disgusting like that, then you could at least choose attractive models, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And I started through at the beginning, deleting messages, hiding messages. And then in the end, I just went, fuck it. You know, let it roll, man, let it roll.
Right.
But then what I noticed at the end, which was fucking hilarious was when I looked at the numbers of people who were viewing, dude, it was like 10 times our normal number. It's
Exactly.
like,
Exactly.
these bitches
The
are
hate,
horrified, but they gotta look.
it sucks and it makes me feel kind of yucky, but the hate will get you more attention, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Like, I don't post anything to try to piss anybody off, but sometimes in the comments, somebody else will say something and that pisses off my followers and they all jump on that guy or whatever and be like, oh, you know, art is subjective or blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I just let it ride because I have noticed that people love the opportunity to tell everybody else that they know the right answer. You know what I mean? And that's how they can do it in that situation. They know the right answer, you don't. You know what I mean? They know the moral correctness and you're wrong. They got to educate you now. And people love to think that they have something that everybody else needs. You know what I mean? If it's just knowledge, even if it's just knowledge.
They are the guru.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you know, I know that in Europe it's much more lax. Sexual culture is much more relaxed, and people are more open and more free and more accepting of themselves and others and things like that. There's a super tight butthole thing going on in the United States when it comes to sexuality, and you know, it probably starts with the Puritans, and it just kind of spread from that, really. But
dude,
you know, it is what it is.
A lot fucking worse. That shit that just happened in Texas in the last couple of days. You see that?
Oh, the abortion
law.
Yes, that's some crazy shit. I can't even imagine.
Of course, that shit got passed because what you've got now is a stacked. What do you call them? The ones who
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. Now it's stacked conservative. You know, you got Gorsuch. You've got that stupid bitch who Trump put in there. I forget her name now. Mm-hmm. But then now it's stacked in that direction that when I saw that 6 weeks abortion law, my heart almost dropped out my ass. I just thought, there's the result of that court stacking. You know what I'm saying? Right there. Yeah. Terrible fucking thing, man.
The fact that people think that it's still okay to tell others what they should or shouldn't be doing with their bodies is beyond me in 2021. You know what I mean? We're supposed to have flying cars and people still want to be like, you have to do what I tell you with your body, you know, whether it's smoking weed, which obviously the United States is swiftly turning that around, and also psychedelic drugs, you know, things we're starting to finally realize the therapies that they offer, which is
look at Maps, for example. Rick Doblin's a fucking hero, that guy. Do you know Maps?
The marijuana, I can't remember what it stands for. I know what you're talking about. The medical
psychedelic study group. I've been almost like a boot kissing fan of this guy Rick Doblin since forever, man. Bill Hicks turned me on to Rick Doblin to give you a time frame. Yeah, that was 394. And I mean, shit, the work that Maps are doing, it's so important globally speaking.
Because you know, you're not there's something to the fact that that something that is naturally occurring on the planet that we are from offers that sort of insight into not only ourselves but our environment. You know what I mean? There's a real thing there, you know, is a real connection. And when you take psychedelics, they make you infinitely more aware of that. And it's just wild that anybody thought it was a good idea to outlaw that. You know what I mean? It's just if it was truly in the name of concern for public safety, well, it was foolishness. But it feels more like, well, wait a minute. We've seen what happens when we give soldiers LSD. They don't want to fight. We got to get rid of this shit. You know what I mean? Because the original LSD trials and stuff with the, what was that CIA?
That was MK Ultra.
Yeah, MK Ultra, and they started giving it to soldiers, and they immediately just wanted to laugh and be silly and put down their guns, and it wasn't going to make them trained killers. So they just were like, we got to get rid of that shit. But yeah,
always reminds me. I love those old videos from when they were doing
Reefer Madness and stuff. Yeah,
beyond that, I like it when you had videos where you have these kind of unprepared subjects who got dunked into something insane like LSD, and then they'll chat with them. It's like 1950, 1960 or something like
and
that.
There's no frame of reference for them to help describe, because they've already talked to people who trip. No, there's none of that. And obviously life being so different in itself too. Yeah, their perspectives and their trips are wild. I did see one.
Got to do a little Google search on. There was a bust in England in the 70s, and it was actually one of your most famous acid cooks who caused it. Young Dr. Owsley, of the Sunshine Acid fame.
Oh, he was the one who had the underground bunker, right?
Owsley was a roadie for Pink Floyd, believe it or not. Actually, the famous picture of David Bowie, Lou Reed, and Iggy Pop, which I have just to my left, meeting for the first time in Andy Warhol's factory. That was actually directly after they did a hit of Owsley's Sunshine Acid in '72. And I'm super proud to say, I will not give a name here. Okay, but Owsley went to England and brought his LSD cooking stuff with him, and in the late 60s, early 70s. And he taught a few people, including a family member of mine, how to cook acid. And that family member of mine taught me how to cook acid. So I learned Owsley's cooking technique myself. On a personal basis, but like incredible. The videos you've got to check out are after Owsley brought his operation to England, it was just flooding England, sunshine acid, window pane acid at that point.
I hear it was pure bliss, basically.
Yeah, that's why Nico from the Velvet Underground decided to live in a shithole like Manchester, England, because there was good acid there. You know?
I think I recently heard a funny story about him. In the Sunshine Acid, and that he was a believer in Hinduism, and he had a guru in India, and he I think I heard from Duncan Trussell. I mean, are you familiar with him, the comedian?
Of course.
Yeah, so he was talking about it, and he was saying that he was so proud of his Sunshine Acid that he wanted to gift some to his favorite guru who he'd been following for years, and he went all the way to India and found him and gave him 1,000 milligrams of Sunshine Acid, and the man just took it and didn't change at all. Didn't like, I mean, he must have been tripping, but he didn't even like wiggle, or he was saying it's a pretty funny story, because he's talking about, he seemed to, he had absolutely no reaction at all. And it's like, what does that mean? Does that mean that if you're meditating enough, you're already unlocking that sort of chemical in your brain and in a way building immunity? You know, that's what my initial thought was. I don't know. It's a pretty interesting story though.
Well, I mean, if we're going to go into the biology of the thing, then you can actually trace a biological line there that's quite logical, which is that, you know, the God sector of the brain, the bit which is activated when you are praying, and the bit that's activated when you meditate, and you can activate it automatically by running an electrical current through that part of the brain. I did it in university with the electrical current, funnily enough, and you get a distinct feeling that someone is behind you and looking at you, or above you and looking at you. And as they increase the current, then you get slightly psychedelic images and a sense of connectedness and universal.
That makes me think of Skinwalker Ranch. Are you familiar with that at all?
Are we talking about the Area 51 direction Skinwalker Ranch thing? Yeah.
That sort of thing, yeah. I think it's in Arizona, though. It's a ranch in Arizona, or maybe Colorado, something like that. But it's a ancient tribal lands that now people live on and ranch on, and they talk about all this crazy shit going on there. That everything from people seeing UFOs like all the time in that area, to even seeing like strange wolves the size of like a mini horse, like big wolves, and also poltergeist activity. The people who've lived there they were talking about. One guy was talking about he was digging holes for fence posts, and he was using a large machine to do this, not like an old fashioned, like an auger, like a motorized auger. And so he's out, and I've seen the pictures of this ranch. It's totally flat, and you can see all around you for miles. There's hardly any trees out there, so there's nowhere for anybody to be hiding or whatever. So he's out there digging holes. He decides to stop, goes inside the house for like 30 minutes, comes back. The machine is gone. And it's not for 2 weeks until he finds it again. And it's 40 feet up in a tree on the property, and one random tree, 40 feet. And it's those things are heavy, man. I mean, they're a big deal. So, and then that was one story. And he's talking about how they had all the fence posts loaded up on a trailer. And we're talking about like 300 posts, a lot. And they just got done unloading them all off the trailer and making a pile. And again, they go in the house for some water or whatever. They come outside. The trailer and all the fence posts are gone. They're on the opposite side of the farm, which is like 2 miles, and it's all been reloaded back onto the trailer. This is within like 30 minutes, and nobody else is out there. You know, just crazy shit like that. But what made me think of that was because you said that with the electrical current makes you feel like there's someone like watching you from behind you or above you, and they often talk about like just being outside and again, like no trees, nothing around, but they can feel like somebody's above them watching them, and they can actually, but they do talk about hearing like strange whispering, strange voices, almost like mocking them, laughing at them. And the woman even said she like got fed up and like screamed shut up, and they like went silent, but then they heard like kind of like laughing, ha ha ha, like, oh, we got him. Kind of just wild stuff.
I always see those things. To me, I'm a strong believer in, I forget who said it. I think it was Terence McKenna, when someone asked him, "Are you on drugs?" And he said, "No, I am drugs. I'm a bag of drugs. I'm a piece of meat with chemicals flowing through it, which are augmenting my consciousness. Therefore, I am drugs." Perfect. And that's the thing with electromagnetic frequencies and chemical inputs. Is that essentially speaking, we're surrounded by those things. The universe is made of those things. Atoms, which we are made of those things, you know? And so therefore, the idea that disruptions and movements of different chemicals or different electromagnetic fields in certain areas can have extremely strong impacts. For example, telekinetic style impacts on what the human brain can do. For example, the seeing of visions, you know.
Remote viewing. I've been doing some research more recently that remote viewing is actually real. I was always like,
dude, there's a fucking army unit for that. There's an army unit. There are army units for that. The
CIA and Russia, they have whole divisions dedicated to doing that. And the stuff that they've been able to do is fucking crazy, man. I mean, I saw that movie with George Clooney, The Men Who Stare at Goats.
The Men Who Stare at Goats,
Right. And I saw it, and I was like, okay, this is probably a real program they had that was based on some bullshit, you know, some occultism type shit that probably didn't pan out. That's kind of where I left it. And that was a long time ago. And then the CIA, under some Patriot Act stuff, Freedom of Information Act, has more recently released more information from their studies on this, and it's mind blowing. I mean, I was reading about it and how they had one guy who was so good at it, they could literally show him a photograph from anywhere in the world, and just by looking at the photograph, he could tell you what's going on there right now and in all directions, just by looking at a photo.
I have absolutely, for me, I guess it's related to my psychedelic use. As a youngster, there was a time when it wasn't possible for me to tell anymore if I was or wasn't tripping. I was tripping hard for
that's a lot of
10 years. 10 years plus. I got to the point where I was confused about what was tripping and what was not tripping, you know?
Sure.
And this is not a healthy place to be when you're in your early 20s.
You get paranoid and worried about stuff that way.
That's right. Yeah. But then in terms of the positives I took from that, and I don't see it as negative, actually. I see that whole phase of my life as a very strong and productive learning experience. I have zero question about the fact that there is the universe is made of physics, and physics means electromagnetic currencies and chemical movements. And these things are undefined science a lot of the time. And we are in conversation basically with the kind of universe. Universe is chatting with us as well. And the universe is us and we are the universe. And so therefore, when
Yeah.
I see,
Yeah, it's so funny to put it. So it seems like simplistic, but that's really what it comes down to. Is that it really is all linked together. You know, we're all daisy chained to the planet, to the universe, to each other. Yeah, and I feel like it's something that we all kind of know, but that other people beat out of us. You know what I mean? Until you hopefully rediscover that truth for yourself on psychedelics.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, we're in a realm there where we're discussing, and I would agree totally. And I come back to Bill Hicks, actually. Bill Hicks, I would say one of the first times I ever met a genius was when I met Hicks on his last tour. When I was, I was like 12 or 13, and asked him for an autograph. He said to me, "Yeah, suddenly, son, what's your name?" And I said, "Sasha Pittimson." He went, so what? And I went, "Sasha Pittimson. You can just say Sasha." And he went, "Okay." And he signed it and he went, "Hey, this is my name. It's Bill Hicks. Simple, to the point, easy to fucking spell." Gave it to me. That was when I met Bill back in those days. But I hop back to Bill Hicks in my concept there because to me, it's a really simplistic thing. The drugs or the thought processes which prevent you from becoming part of an operating machine are forbidden, outlawed, or somehow pushed away to try and prevent you from becoming an autonomous individual. You know, that's my feeling. You know,
it's funny. I always I grew up looking at life, I guess, more positively than I have discovered it really is. You know what I mean? Because there are some true dark things going on. You know what I mean? It's just
there are monsters out there. There are monsters. They are real.
That is exactly right. And then I'm starting to hear, I think it kind of stems from the Epstein thing, the Jeffrey Epstein thing, that really sort of removed a lot of people's blinders to the dark, nefarious activities of the rich.
Dude. When I was a little kid, I was in the British National Youth Music Theatre, the patronage of which is the royal family. And I personally watched all of our parents being extremely thrilled that we were doing something extremely important in a socially high-class circle. But I also watched these shitty royal family people disappearing off for the weekends with 7, 8-year-old boys and girls to their yachts. When I was a tiny kid, when I was 12, when Epstein came along, I was like, I'm really surprised it's taken so long for people to get their brain around this shit. Do you know what I mean?
It's not that it take us a long time to figure it out. It's that it's so well hidden from everybody. You know what I mean? Because he had already been arrested for the same shit and prosecuted for it, 10 years ago or something like that? And all he got...
2014, I think so. And he got a sweetheart deal as well.
He got basically house arrest for a year or something simple. So yeah, man, it's just that the rich love to protect their own. You know what I mean? They want to keep them looking like they're never doing anything wrong. So none of us go, well, wait a minute,